All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. On today's episode, Cole Caufield of the Montreal Canadiens signed a massive contract. And why does that matter? Because he just happened to be drafted in the same draft as one Bowen Byram, who just so happens to be up for a contract himself. Did this set the market? We will talk about that and a lot of other things today on Locked On Avalanche.
You're Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
There we go. How are we doing, everybody? Welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. And make sure to follow us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, lockedonavalanche@gmail.com. And make sure to follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel over on YouTube. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live, and as well sign up for our subtext. Link to that in the show notes below. Subscribe and chat with Kyle and I one-on-one. All right. We will get to, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the rundown off to the side there. More ESPN talk. They let go of Chris Chelios, so we'll talk about that. Avs lose a coach, an AHL one, but a good one at that, to the Anaheim Ducks. But we are going to start with contracts because that's kind of where we're at right now, at least for the two teams not playing, outside of the two teams playing in the Stanley Cup final. Everybody's looking at what their contract situation is, free agents, all that stuff, kind of like putting things up on the bulletin board before you can go in full bore and sign some guys. For the Montreal Canadiens, they signed their restricted free agent, Cole Caufield. And boy, is this a pretty monster deal for him. An 8-year deal, $62.8 million. That's a 7.85 AAV. And why do we mention that? Because that obviously is a contract that Bo Byram's camp is going to be looking at. And we've talked, the everydayers know, we've talked a few times. What do you do with Bo Byram in this contract? Do you bridge it? Do you just go in like Montreal is with Caufield? And I can't remember where you said you were, but I'm of the mind of do something like this. Yeah. If you can fit it in the cap somehow, you got to figure out the dollar amounts and everything like that. As far as term goes, I'm all in on Bo Byram, and I would lock him up for 8 years. I have no problem doing that. Does this move by Montreal, like I said in the opening, is this setting the market for that draft class? And because Cole Caufield was 16, I think 15 or 16. Right after him was Alex Newhook, by the way.
Yeah.
Right after Cole Caufield was Alex Newhook. So whatever Newhook was, if Newhook was 18 and Caufield was 17, I don't remember. But does this set that market for those guys in that draft class and above Caufield?
Well, see, this is where we sit with the Bo Byram deal, because you want to pay him now, which I understand. I get. Mm-hmm. Between like Cole Caufield and Bo Byram last year, Cole Caufield had 36 points. Mm-hmm. Bo Byram 24.
Well, one's a forward, one's a defenseman.
No. This is right. This is not a. We're putting that out there right now.
Right.
Cole Caufield had 46 games. Bo Byram had 42.
Yeah.
Health is an issue with both players.
Right.
Bo has the lingering concussion issue, and Cole Caufield also has had a string of injuries. I have been the camp of bridge Bo, because the Nathan MacKinnon deal, we've talked 100 million times about putting this team back together and trying to put something on the ice. And you want Bo to prove it just a little bit more that he could. You would hate for the Avalanche to go and pay $7 million for a defenseman that plays half the season.
But the thing is, like, look, Yeah, like you look at, and the numbers are what they are, but you don't sign a guy right now. Like the Montreal is not signing Cole Caufield for his numbers that he's put up to this point. You're signing him because you feel like he's going to continue to progress, and that contract that he just signed, he's going to earn it. You don't really look back and say like, well, this is what you've earned, especially for a guy like Cole Caufield. And I think Bo Byram is exactly in that camp. Sure, you can bring up the injuries and feel like that's a problem. If you don't, if you feel like, hey, like we can look at those injuries and just say like each one of those, we can just say like we can say like this happened because of this, and none of them are really his fault. So if you can get beyond that, Avs are going in on Bo Byram, and it is almost exactly the same mindset of. I'll ask you this: if Cole Caufield deserves 8 years in that amount for what, even if you're going off of what he's done, do you not feel that Bo Byram is worth that? I completely do without hesitation.
And
Now,
see,
whether or not they do that is another question.
and that's the thing. Like I feel that Bo deserves that contract, but the difference in the two players, like I keep hearkening back to the injury because Bo Byram was contemplating walking away from the game of hockey at one point because of his injury. And he's 1 or 2 hits away from being right back in that position again. With the concussions, that's the thing. With Cole Caufield, you just tell him, drink more milk, work on them bones, boy, and then get back out there.
Right.
But with Bo, it's a little bit more of a wait and see and precautionary. He's still young. He's still in the basically in his formative years. So if I fully agree with you on the point that yes, he's a $7-8 million player. But you would hate for the Avalanche we've been talking about the cap, and yesterday we talked about it only going up $1 million with Nathan MacKinnon's contract coming up.
Well, that's very real. Yes.
And you would hate for tomorrow we all wake up, Bo Byram signs a $7 million deal. Wow, that's great. 20 games in. We play Vegas.
I know. But
then you're going to be looking and you're going in your second season without Gabe Landeskog. You have the Nichushkin injuries last year, his absence in the playoffs. It's who are you paying to stay home? When you're trying so hard to put a team together, you're up against the cap. You didn't do anything at the trade deadline last year because you really couldn't afford to make any moves, pick up free agents. Haven't had a loud offseason in quite some time. And we talked about the cap being such a problem. This will be 3 players if Bo goes down again. Like you're sitting there at the end of the year, you're paying guys to sit home in shorts, and your team is just scraping to get to the end. We used so many Colorado Eagles last year to get the season going, to get to the trade deadline. You just hate to see it happen again. This is why I just say bridge it and see if he could put together more games, more consistency, how he reacts to everything. And then I say pay him 8. There would be no problem after the bridge is over.
See, but the thing is, like, this is you look at what Montreal is doing, and it's kind of, I mean, in a way, it's almost similar to what the Avalanche did with Nathan MacKinnon and his deal that just ran out. You know, so if you look at the number, right? Caufield, what I say was it was 7 point something, 7.85, 7.85.
Yeah.
So, you know, if he outplays that number, that's a steal. That is an absolute steal, especially with the cap going to go up. And with Nathan MacKinnon, you know, when he signed that deal, he was nowhere near the Nathan MacKinnon that we know now.
That's true.
Nowhere near it. But what did they do? They went in on him feeling like they knew what they had, and he will eventually become what he is. So you go and you take that chance. And what happened? That was the best contract in hockey, hands down, and now that's over. So you got him for at a bargain. And that's what you do. If you feel like this guy is going to be part of your system for the future, you lock him up at a number. And if and that's what you do with Bo Byram, in my opinion. You lock him up for a number. If it's in the $6 to $7 million range, I don't know what it could be now that Caufield signed this. But even if it is the exact same contract as Cole Caufield, which I don't feel it's going to be, I know the numbers are a little bit different. And Montreal's up against the cap too. It's not like they have all this money in the world, but you sign these deals for these guys and you take a chance. The chance is very, very real. And if they outplay it, you look like a genius, like the Avalanche just did with the Nathan MacKinnon one. You run that risk. And for a guy like Bo Byram, I take that risk. I don't even hesitate to take that risk. I understand everything that comes with it. And if you're wrong, you're wrong. And that's a bad thing to be wrong about. But I think there's a lot of people out there feeling like, man, if Cole Caufield can cash in like that, Bo Byram is up next. And I saw some people on Twitter saying like, Bo Byram's never getting an 8-year deal. Watch it. It very, very well could happen. Now, the only reason that it might not is because of what the number situation is. And the bridge is still in play here. I'm not trying to say this is a done thing. It's still in play. But I just feel like, this to me, this is Nathan MacKinnon 2.0. You give him, you lock him. The Nathan MacKinnon deal was a 7-year deal. If you want to give him that, that's fine. But I think Bo Byram is not going anywhere for a long time. And this deal for Caufield kind of just solidifies that for me.
Yeah, I completely, like, when you're talking potential, he's worth every penny. But when you're looking backwards at evidence, that's where it gets really, really tricky.
Yeah,
and then it's a fine line that you have to play. And where the Avalanche sit, that's the question that we're asking.
It's tough. So you have a lot of stuff to work around to do that. And we'll see how it all plays out for them. So maybe this is the first domino to fall. Maybe we see some more of it as the days go on. All right, let's hear from eBay Motors, and then we'll get into the new coach for the Anaheim Ducks. Might be a familiar sounding name to some Avalanche faithful. But for a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. And it's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors with eBay Guaranteed Fit. You can be sure that every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your car to the My Garage tab and look for the green check to know that the part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only, and exclusions do apply. All right, so the name Greg Cronin is probably familiar to a lot of Avalanche fans. He has been the AHL Colorado Eagles coach for a while now. And you heard his name getting thrown around specifically to the Anaheim Ducks pretty quickly after the season was over. And that is a reality now. They went out and they signed him. And I think it's a great hire, not only just because he's, within the Avalanche system, but I like this stuff. I like when guys are given a shot. And it's like, we'll get to it in a second here. This, revolving door of coaches, which seems to just, continue this carousel of coaches that just seem to always find another job, even though they didn't really prove anything. They're in their last one. Another team thinks they're going to strike gold. But you feel good for a guy like Cronin to be able to take a team, and I like that it's a young team.
Yeah.
So, he can grow with them. It's not like he took over, like Pittsburgh or something like that, where it's like, you got to win now. That's a lot of pressure on someone coming in just to do that. But I think they're going to allow him, some leeway here. They're not expecting miracles in year one, but he's the kind of coach where you could get a better season than what you're expecting simply because of him and what he can get out of his players.
Yeah, Greg Cronin, he was the head coach for the Eagles from like 2018. never had a losing season with the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
Had some really good teams with the Eagles. Hey, but before that, he had some assistant time with the Toronto Maple Leafs and the New York Islanders. So he's got a taste of both worlds. And as a head coach, I mean, it's one of those chicken and the egg. Like, those Eagles teams are really good. Who was really good? Was it his coaching ability as a head coach? Because he was at Northeastern before that as a head coach. And it was pretty good for him there, but I'm excited to see him in Anaheim. Cronin and Zegras, let's go, baby. And it's a great opportunity for him. He's going to be a great head coach. He's going to be a great fit. You already see the reaction around the Ducks. They know what they're getting. It's going to be sad. I'm interested to see who fills the void in Loveland, but good luck to Greg.
Who was it? Someone was talking about it on Twitter. I think there's an assistant that they have that they feel like I think Megan was talking about from DNVR was talking about it. She feels like there was an assistant. I think that they might just hand it over to him. Who knows what's going to happen, but
it'll be me.
You got it.
Yep.
Taking the reins. All right.
I'm announcing it now.
All right. Good. Nice to know. Hey, breaking news here. But I kind of feel like, if, and this clearly was never close to happening, but if something like Jared Bednar just decided, hey, like I won a Stanley Cup, I don't really, I'm done, I'm good. I kind of feel like the Avalanche would have just promoted Cronin. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like they're not in that business of going out and just, they proved it when they hired Bednar. So it's kind of like Cronin had to deal with a lot of what the Avalanche had to deal with at the NHL level this year.
Yeah.
And I don't want people to forget that. He had a revolving door of players too, constantly going up to the big show and coming back down. And they had a very good season for the Eagles. And that's a lot of credit to him. So as many players that the Avalanche had coming in and out of the roster, so did he. And they don't just send guys down to the AHL because they're not performing well at the NHL level. When they send them back down there, they're sent down there with a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And it's to go work on this. And that's what he seemed to do brilliantly.
Yes.
Is get so much out of whatever roster he had. And does that not sound like Jared Bednar?
Yeah.
So it seemed like they were like, Bednar 1 and Bednar 2, one at the NHL level, one at the AHL level. And it'll be sad that he's gone. And I think another thing that she was saying was Malinsky specifically came to the Avalanche world because of him, because he could learn from him and kind of fine tune his game. I mean, now coaches come and go, though. I mean, you can't expect every single coach that you play for at this level to remain there forever. But maybe it's a little bit. But you can't fault the guy. It's a pro level coaching gig, and you had to take it.
Yeah, I'll be quietly cheering for him in finding success in the head coaching realm in the NHL.
Yeah. So good luck to him. On the other front, another former Av coach with Patrick Waugh. I know he wants to get back in the league. I don't think he's made any bones about it that he's ready to come back into the NHL and coach. And for whatever reason, he's just not getting the time of day. And the latest are the New York Rangers, who seem to be interviewing everybody under the sun. Are you up for that one too? Because the Rangers just seem to be interviewing everybody.
No.
You're not up for that one. Okay.
I couldn't do that.
Yeah, it's bright lights. But for whatever reason, they are not interested in interviewing Patrick Waugh. And I don't understand why not. If this is his playing days, still like his attitude on the ice and his playing days, and that's why people are afraid of it, you're not paying attention to what he's doing in the coaching ranks, and you didn't pay attention to what he did when he was a professional coach with the Avalanche, which was a mighty fine job.
I wonder how much of his exit from Colorado still lingers in front offices.
Maybe, but
because he left right before the season started.
Yeah, I think the timing of it was horrible. But the reasoning, I think, if you're gonna really dive into it, he just wanted more of a say.
Who doesn't get along with Joe Sakic, though?
it was a very, very odd situation. I'm not going to deny it. It was terrible, terrible timing. But come on. There's other guys around the league that are getting second, third, fourth, eighth chances that can't get into the playoffs. And Patrick Waugh, who had a really good stint the one time he was there, if you're going to hold that against him, how come all of a sudden we're being self-righteous on how we're going to hire coaches and forget about the track record of some of these other coaches that just seemingly to get a new job at the snap of their finger? I don't get it.
Now, see, like if we were talking about Montreal, this would be more of an interesting, like, what is really going on here? Just Patrick Waugh and the Rangers, just nothing about it just seems
I
to
think
fit.
that's oh no. I think that is a match made in heaven. The New York media would love him. The New York fans would love him. I think that is a absolute perfect match. If you ask me,
he's always felt like Montreal or Vegas.
You really think he would go coach Montreal? Do you really think he would after the way he left?
Just to go in there and like dance on their grave and be like, "This is my team now." Like he would have a blast.
That would be that. You know what? I think. Well, Martin St. Louis is doing a fine job there. It's not like the job is open, but if it were, I think he would take it.
Yeah, I
think he would take it. So I don't know. What do you think, people? Are you with us? And just you feel like he should get another shot? And I think at some point he will. But for whatever reason, right now, just it seems like people don't want to go near him. I don't even know if he's gotten an interview. I don't know if he has with any of the openings right now.
Yeah, his name always pops up every offseason, but
pops up in the media.
Yeah,
but doesn't pop up in interview rooms.
And he's looking like he's having fun where he is right now. So
yeah, no, he does. So he's killing it there. All right, and the last bit we want to get to is my ongoing feud with ESPN and people. I said it when this deal was initially signed with them. I was not enthused about it, and everybody else was. This is going to be the greatest thing in the world for hockey. It's ESPN. It's the ESPN machine. And I told you then they're going to bury it. They're going to bury it on the Ocho, and we're not that far from it. This is not to that level in terms of like how, they're promoting the league or presenting the league. And there's a lot of cuts going on right now in Disney and ABC and ESPN. And one of them was Chris Chelios. And I've always been a Chris Chelios fan.
Yeah.
I know he is years with the Red Wings, and we all know Red Wings and Avalanche fans, even though it was decades ago, still have that little bit of hatred towards each other. I never had that for Chris Chelios.
Yeah.
And I've always liked him in the studio, and he is one of the latest ESPN cuts. So whatever their in studio crew is going to look like next year, it's not going to include him. And I think that's a little bit of a shame.
It is a shame, but I feel like this writing was on the wall for Chelly when they brought PK on, because he brought such energy to that studio crew. And honestly, like, this is no knock to the guy. I know what he's doing. I know what he's going through. It doesn't feel like he really wanted to be there at all. Like, it felt like Messier was trying to get him like going every time they would come back from a commercial. So
probably because he sees what ESPN's doing. He's like, why am I going to put in the effort if they're not? If TNT's smart, they hire him tomorrow and throw him on that panel in there. And because he is different. Like, you can't have a panel full of PK Subans, right? Because that's way too much going on at one. Like, you have PK, and I like PK doing what he's doing. I like him. He's obviously very knowledgeable. And then you have Messier, who's the name, who's obviously knowledgeable. And Chelios was that just calm, demeanored guy, which I like too. So I thought it was a good dynamic. And over on TNT, you got Biz, who's the whack job, who's just going to say whatever's on his mind. Fine, that's great. And you need a guy to combat that, and they have that over there. That's a very good panel that they have over there. Where Chelios would fit, I don't know, but it would just be another, because they're not there every single day. Like Gretzky's not there every single day and every single time that they're showing hockey. So he'd just be a guy that they have, and he's there when they need him to be. So I think it'd be a smart move if he wanted to do it. But I mean, I think it's funny how you're saying, like, he just seemed like he didn't want to be there. I wouldn't either, because the way ESPN is handling hockey is kind of laughable. And I saw it coming from the time they signed on the dotted line.
And I hate that you're right with this, because
I'm so right with this.
Growing up so in love with that theme song, like it was this weekend,
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? There's nothing going on. Let me pull up some ESPN docs on hockey. You know how easy it is to find Premier League lacrosse contrary to hockey content right now on ESPN?
Yeah.
I'm flipping through and I'm like, oh, Chris is right and I hate it, and I'm never going to tell him, but I guess I'm telling you right now on the show.
Yeah. I mean, I know how ESPN operates, and they got everybody excited because we're bringing the theme song back. Cool. I can go listen to that anytime I want on YouTube. I'd really like to hear it on your network more than I do, and I don't. So, just if ESPN not wanting to move the baseball game, the middle of May baseball game, when we have 5 more months of baseball for playoff hockey, what does that tell you? If that doesn't tell you, I don't know what will.
But have you watched baseball with the pitch clock now? It's so much fun.
Great. And I can watch 10,000 games of it throughout the course of one season. But man, I don't know. So we'll see where he goes. If he, and maybe, it's kind of tongue in cheek, me saying like he was showing that he was disinterested because it was ESPN, but maybe, I don't know. I didn't see that, but if you feel like he did, maybe he just wants to get out of it.
Maybe he's going to the Rangers.
Whoa. Is he looking to get into the coaching ranks?
I mean, all of his peers,
all of his FTNT.
Yeah, all of his peers are putting on the suit and finding a place in the front office. I mean, Chelly's demeanor and his knowledge, I think this might be the time for him to
stop that revolving door.
Yeah.
Get somebody fresh, some fresh ideas, fresh faces. I like it. I like where you're going with that one, man. Let's ride that. But
I honestly, I wonder if that was crossing his mind a lot this year, watching the carousel in motion and watching some of these coaching decisions being made, because a lot of his analysis is on the coaching side and what he would do in these moments. It's how he breaks it down. I wonder if that is going through his mind right now.
Or maybe even just an assistant job. Maybe he just wants to start somewhere on the bench and go from there. We'll see. We'll see where he ends up. But wherever he ends up, whoever gets him, they're getting a good guy. I've always had a good feeling about Chris Chelios. So, all right, that's going to wrap it up for today, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and making it your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. We will be back tomorrow with anything that's breaking. This Bowen Byram contract right around the corner. We shall see. But what do you think? Comment away in the comment section if this changes your feeling or vibe on what's going to happen with Bowen Byram as far as the Cole Caufield contract goes. All right. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I'm Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys tomorrow.